Hey guys, I'm Echo Soundworks, and this is another tutorial for ADSR and MassiveSynth.com. If you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can sign up at youtube.com/ADSRtuts. So as a quick demo of the bass sound we're making today in Massive, more specifically, it's a garage and deep house bass. And I did want to touch on a couple points before we started remaking the sound in Massive. First, if you are a Logic user and you want to get under the hood of this tutorial, you can actually download this Logic project for it. And you can actually obviously have the preset and this MIDI and the drum loop. Second, I wanted to talk about a little bit about this third-party processing I have applied to the sound. Because anytime you're making a garage or deep house bass, you're kind of limited in terms of the sonic scope of the bass because it has to fit the genre, but it's also tough to kind of make it your own. There are some deep house artists and garage DJs that have their own sound with their basses, and it's because they're doing some cool effects and filtering and things like that that change it just enough to make it their own. So what I did was I applied some bus sends to this bass sound, and it's pretty simple. And if you don't have these plugins, you can still achieve the same effect with different plugins. So first, I set up a bus or an aux send, whatever you want to call it, and I threw on some Valhalla vintage verb, and let me solo what that bus channel sounds like. So that's where the reverb's coming. There's a little bit coming in Massive, but not a whole lot. And what I did was I set the pre-delay pretty high, the mix pretty low, under 50%, and then I took the decay down to 2.29 seconds or milliseconds, I believe it would be actually. So that's kind of where that slap reverb tail is coming from. Now going on to bus 2, I use an instance of Waves H delay. And if you don't have H delay, you can use another delay plugin, doesn't matter. But I use this because of the filtering it has on it. So if I solo this bus channel, that's what the reverb, that's what the delay is doing. And it has these high pass and low pass controls, which this is actually adding to the low end content of the bass, which is cool. So if you don't have H delay, you can still do the same thing with a delay and a filtering plug. And then I stuck on an instance of the LFO tool to sidechain compress that delayed signal. In oscillator 1, you're going to select the smooth square wave. You're going to turn the wavetable position down all the way, keep the intensity amp where it is, and then we're going to down tune this to -24, so it's barely going to be audible. But that's fine. Now I'm going to activate oscillator 2, and in that, I'm going to select the sine square wave, and I'm going to make sure you keep the wavetable position up all the way, turn the intensity down to about 60%, 55%, and then keep the amp where it is. And now pitch this down to -12, so a whole octave. So it's already turning into a cool sound, and that's mainly because of those buses. So if I turn those off, so you can see how important that is to the sound. So if you don't have these, or if you download the Logic template, great. But if you don't have these plugins and you want to try recreating the sound, maybe create some bus sends or some effects to work into. It really, really helps on garage basses. So there it is with those off. Now let's go down to our noise generator, which I'm going to keep on for this sound. I'm just going to turn the color down. I'm actually turning the amp down because I'm going to modulate those in a little bit. So I'm not going to use any insert effects with this sound, but what we do need to go to is our filter. We're going to select low pass 4 for filter 1, turn the cutoff up just a little bit above halfway, and then you're going to turn the resonance down, but then just boost it up just a hair. All right, and that's really all we're going to do except for macroing and modulation. So let's go to our oscillator tab though real quick. And in that, we're going to turn up the glide. And I'm actually going to swap out this vibrato. So I'm going to clear it. And I'm going to create a macro for my glide time. I'm going to name this glide. That way I can control it with my keyboard if I so choose to. And I'm going to turn this up a little bit and just bump it. All right, now I'm going to go to the voicing tab, and in the voicing tab, make sure your unisono is on 1, and make sure you want to check this to monophonic. After all, it is a bass sound, and have it check to always, so it's always triggering the sound. All right, now let's go to our envelopes because we're going to modulate a couple destinations with those. So in envelope 1, I'm going to turn the attack down, keep the level up, turn the decay up just a pinch, turn the level down pretty much all the way, and then boost this release to about 45%. All right, and now to actually have that come into play in the sound, we're going to grab that little crosshair and modulate the cutoff of filter 1. Okay, now let's go to envelope 2. And in envelope 2, we're going to use this to modulate some parameters in our oscillator, our second oscillator. So turn the attack in all the way, keep the level up, turn that decay down almost all the way, and then turn the level down pretty much all the way. And now instead of gate, select linear, so it creates that really sharp downward slanting line. And this, once you get the release level right and the decay right, this line here should be coming up in this linear box. So I'm going to turn the decay up a little more, and then the release up or down just a pinch. Now we're going to take this and modulate both the wavetable position. So turn the wavetable position down a little, and then turn it up, and then take that crosshair again and modulate backwards. So turn it to the left of the rotary knob's position, down a little bit. All right, and now let's go back to this noise generator here. I'm going to create a macro, and I'm going to obviously call this noise. So I'm going to drag it into there and into there, and let's name this noise. And now I'm going to drag the color out because the color will get brighter as I go. So go all the way until you see that little notch, and then take the amp and then turn that up a good amount as well. I'm also going to take this second envelope that I just created to modulate that. So then it's kind of controlling our white noise to kind of have the same shape as this envelope. So it's more of a controlled sound. Because it has that really sharp decay going down, which is nice. All right, now let's set up some of the effects that I used inside of Massive, which was the delayed sync. And in that, you're going to turn the dry wet down to about 20%, turn the damp down a lot to about 10%, and then feedback to maybe 15 or 20. And I used a kind of a weirder ratio. I selected 2 and 16 for the left, and then 1 and 4 for right. So it just has that little bit of bounce. And then I selected the small reverb for FX2 because it is a bass. I didn't want to drench it. And then I turned the dry wet down a good amount, the size down a little, and I kept the density and color pretty much where they are. I just turned them down a pinch. And now that we have the sound kind of coming together, I'm going to go back to the resonance a little. And finally, what we're going to do inside of Massive is turn on the EQ, and I'm going to boost the lows just a little bit and turn this boost down to kind of notch out some of those frequencies. I'm going to turn this frequency knob down here, which helps beef it up and make it a little bit darker sounding, and then keep the high shelf where it is. And now last, I'm going to go to the fourth envelope and just bump up this release a hair and pretty much keep everything else where it is. The reason I'm doing that is because that little 4 right there means that the fourth envelope is tied to the amp mod inside of Massive. So it's not like the other 2 envelopes we created where we actually have to modulate a destination with them to create an effect in the sound. So that is the sound in Massive. Now let's turn on these bus sends that I created. And that is pretty much the sound, guys. If you have any questions or comments, let me know below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't checked out massivesynth.com, head on over there. Tons of cool things, Massive. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.